The relationship between general contractors or GCs and their subs is huge, and creating a solid, open relationship takes work, but helps the projects get done more efficiently in the end. Now, when I heard that Max Gallaway, VP of Max Electric Inc., was going to be at the NECA convention, I reached out to see what insights he could share with us regarding how he works on creating better relationships with his GC partners. Welcome to Keeping the Lights On. I'm your host, Todd Reed, and on this podcast, I connect with the owners and pros who design, build, and maintain our electrical, communications, and industrial world to explore the best ways forward. Let's get into the show. I like to start out each episode with the meals that bring us together, because that's a good way to share ideas. And so, Max, if I were to visit you in your hometown, where might you take me, and why would you choose this place?
So that's a loaded question. I'd have to get some answers from you first.
Okay.
Being in Kansas City would I consider the barbecue mecca.
Of course, yeah.
I would have to go for barbecue, obviously. The Z-Man from Joe's KC for a sandwich.
Okay.
If you're a burn-ins guy, I'd take you to Jack Stack.
Okay.
And,
nice.
The brisket at Q39's tough to beat, and if you can ever couple that and tailgating and for a Chiefs or Royals game, that really accentuates it.
Okay, so it sounds like we got a full weekend planned then. So I'm not going to visit you for a meal. I'm going to several meals, which is fine. I love barbecue and I love all those things you mentioned. So it'll be, especially brisket's probably my favorite one, because my mom used to, well, she still does, makes a brisket that's amazing, but it's not barbecue. It's a little different. But so I love a good brisket. So we'll do that. That'll be awesome. Thanks for that. I was going to ask, so which one of those would you say is your favorite? Like,
I would say that my favorite would have to be the Z-Man.
Z-Man. Which one was that? The food?
At KC Joe's. So
Okay.
It's got the brisket with provolone on it and an onion ring.
Oh.
And you pair that with your favorite sauce.
Oh, dang. John, do you like really spicy sauce? What's the sauce that's your preference?
Yeah,
it's very critical.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
It's got the Night of the Living sauce, which is it's not too spicy, but it does have spice to it. And then you pair that with their fries, and probably two, you can share one.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. We're in. All right. So the reason I'm having you on here is talking about the relationship between subs, because you're electrical, and the GCs. Very important relationship. What would you say are three top challenges that you see contractors facing today, especially when it comes to working with those GCs? And then let's just maybe list out three of them, and then we'll dig into each one.
I'd say that explaining more, there's more to a project than just price to a general contractor. I'd say two, making sure that there's fair and equitable contracts.
Okay.
And those two topics kind of expanded to a lot. I'd say three, just, the relationship.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that relationship and how to build that near the end of our conversation. So let's talk a little bit about the price. So it's more than just price that that you quote them. So can you maybe dig into a little bit about the conflict that comes into that?
Yeah. So obviously we're talking a big ticket item, which typically in any capitalistic society, those are going to be more scrutinized. Yeah. I always joke that the $10, $15 whale that you buy at Target that washes your grandkids, no one cares if they sell it and ship it for $2.99,
right,
and have over 300% markup.
Yeah.
But then when we have, we lose by 1%, and sorry, you didn't get the job, and you're going, well, so some of the things we can do to give that is explain in your proposal your lead times, right? And that's going to make a difference too, if they provided a schedule at the time, bid time or not, right? If you're going for bottom dollar, and that's what matters before a schedule, then that's going to affect, who's buying. 'Cause, the days of float that might get their schedule and their construction team, and how that affects more than just the one trade, but the construction team as a whole.
So can you explain that the terminology there? Did you say
Yes.
Days of float?
Yeah, days of float. So on a critical path method, which now is all done with computers, used to be in the square boxes, just hold the whole room up, take the whole job trailer. But basically you can save them days, which in the end is usually the problem. I mean, rarely does a construction project go perfect from start to finish.
Sure, yeah.
If you're buying them days of float, what's that worth to them? What's that worth to their customer? If everything does go swimmingly and they open early, what's that mean to the end user, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not just the general contractor. You have to understand the general contractor's customers' issues and that will get you usually in the front of the line with them because you're solving their problems before they're even aware about it. And
Okay.
you just have to vocalize that. You know, the question I would ask is if you're close on bid day, what's that general contractor that's been awarded the project? What's their relationship with the other electrical contractor going? Have they used them before? Have they had positive experiences? Well, that sometimes it's as simple as jogging their memory of, oh, well, hey, you know, it's within a certain tolerance. We know that these guys, you know, are reputable. They show up when they say they're going to show up. They get done. They provide lead times that are accurate. And when something slips, they're communicative, and they don't just say, "Hey, I've got a problem." They're working on it. They're actively working towards a solution, whether that be a different product or whatever.
So yeah, so you want to, as you're bidding, you also want to make sure you're educating them and reminding them if they've worked with you, reminding them about things you've done, how you've overcome problems, and if they're new, then having to illustrate that somehow, right? The way you're able to overcome these gaps, the time problems, the lead time challenges.
Even on simple jobs, you got to remember the general contractor's buying out over 20 different packages, right? They've got mechanical, electrical, plumbing, sometimes low voltage or fire alarm are separate. You know, drywall, concrete. They've got all those. So they may not be totally focused. They may have a meeting right after you buying out the next package. And if you're sending these reminders, maybe that's their notes.
These are obviously contractual relationships, and I know you've been in business a while, and many of our listeners have been. So it's not new to see contracts, but they can be pretty complex. Depending on the size of the project and the complications of the project. So I'm curious. So what are some of the risks that contractors face, both GCs and subs, if they don't fully understand the contracts they're signing, like especially regarding documentation and approvals?
Yeah. So you really, as a subcontractor, have to be cognizant of the contract you get, read through it in its entirety. And if it's the first time you're working with a general contractor, keep in mind that you're reading all the language and you're being fair to both parties, right? A fair and equitable contract. A lot of this language can be put on the front half when you submit your proposal, saying that you're only going to accept a fair and equitable contract. And that way on bid day, you've done the precursor to tell them, hey, we want a fair contract. And digging into some of that stuff that a lot of people don't pay attention to, such as paid if paid versus paid when paid language.
Can you explain that just a little bit, what that means?
Yeah, so paid when paid language, and to be clear, these can take forms in several different ways, the way they read out in a contract. Yeah. You have to make sure that you really look for them. But paid when paid, you're contingent upon the owner paying the general contractor before, in the case of Missouri, where we live, there's the Prompt Pay Act, there's 10 days. So as soon as they've paid the general contractor, within 10 days, they by law are supposed to pay you. Now, the plus of paid when paid versus paid if paid is if you've done the work satisfactorily and you're within your lien rights and everything, you still have you have a right to lien against the property as long as it's not government. You have the right to unfortunately go into litigation, which is the whole point of contracts and being up front in the beginning is to avoid that, to be crystal clear, not to be litigious. But the paid if paid means that you don't, if the owner never pays the general contractor, regardless of if you have been given a change order, if you've been in a written directive from in the contract who you're told to to move forward with that portion of the project, if they don't get paid, they don't have to pay you. And in certain, although it's very rare, and with some nefarious cases, they can use that to continue to keep a customer happy and burn you.
Yeah.
If there's no proof. Now that obviously you hope it never gets to that point.
Sure. Yeah,
but the paid if paid is something that I've been fighting for both on the NECA front and within AGC.
Okay. All right. We're going to mention AGC here in a little bit.
So
yeah.
Yeah, other items. A lot of contracts have in there that your gang box, your tools, and your materials, whether they've been paid for or not, become the property of the general contractor, and they have the ability to terminate you without cause.
Okay.
That's a major concern. The cost for using their accounting software, their billing software, the general contractor's billing software, or their safety make sure that you're covering yourself there.
Okay.
The terms for payment, how many days out for payment, if you don't have a prompt pay act in your state, or ensuring on T&M tickets or change orders that you're getting it signed and approved in email by the person that's listed in the contract. Many times what happens is they'll have the superintendent for the general contractor sign it, and it specifically says that only the project manager can, and then they can say at the end of the job, well, we're not going to give you those weren't authorized. Or you see the T&M tickets where they'll put in quotations for time verification only, which means that they're not really approving your change order or your T&M ticket.
Yeah.
They're just saying that they witnessed it.
Okay. Yeah, man. Very complex. This is amazing. And this is just, and I guarantee we're not covering everything. I can just tell, I've seen contracts. That's amazing. So yeah, there's a lot to think about.
So one thing I would advocate for, because usually when you do start bringing these items up and you get pushback from a general contractor, as far as I can see, especially in the Kansas City market, but going out, you're seeing it more and more frequently where every general contractor has their own contract. And I would argue when they push back on these items when they want it, especially the paid ones tough to get, you say, hey, why don't we use an AIA document? Why don't we use, even better, a consensus docs? So consensus docs is recognized by 41 different trade organizations.
And obviously, we're giving it some opinions here, seek legal advice, appropriate legal advice and all that to the listeners. But what are some steps you would recommend for a sub to start addressing some of this maybe unfair contract language or trying to negotiate more balanced agreements?
Yeah, and good point on that. I do advise anybody to go through legal counsel. Obviously, local statutes and state makes a difference. I'm only speaking for my area and how we operate, but I think a starting piece is to ask the GC if it's okay to use a consensus docs first or an AIA second. The consensus docs one I'm big on because it's considered a fair and equitable contract by over 41 different trade organizations. Okay. And that goes from the top to the bottom of the construction process. So what I mean by that, at the top, you have COAA, the Construction Owners Association of America. Okay. You have the general contractors, AGC and ABC. From our level, as a NECA contractor, NECA, MCA, they all handle it. And then all the way down to NAED, which I know Great Bar is a member and major support of the National Association of Electrical Distributors. Yep. So everyone that's involved in the process, from the owner that's paying to build the project all the way to the supplier who's supplying it, says it's fair. And you can say, okay, hey, 41 different trade organizations all believe in this, and say it's fair. Why are you saying it's not? Yeah.
And obviously those are tweaked by municipalities and areas and stuff, but there's some general language that's agreed to.
The consensus docs it's a full blown, it can be used anywhere.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And can you mention AIA documents?
Yes, I'm sorry. The Architects Institute of America.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, by the way, is another one who supports consensus
docs. Okay. So. Interesting. Yeah, you want to get, so my wife's a lighting designer and I just interviewed her. I talk to her all the time, of course, but interviewing her, I kind of took a different perspective. And her big thing was, because our conversation was about working with electrical contractors, because that's who's installing lighting. And her big thing was, it's coordination. That's what's going to improve the lighting happening better and insert whatever product here. But that was her thing, is coordination. That's all this is the consensus document is a way to coordinate the legal thinking. And let's move to some things that you would recommend to your fellow subs, ways to improve their GC relationship.
So I think giving them the proper information on time and making business more fun.
Okay.
Being successful in the business is difficult without commingling work and pleasure. We all work a lot of hours.
Yep.
Don't view it as work. View it as an opportunity to build something else and make a relationship.
Interesting.
I think far too often there's a us versus them mentality because of the contract and all that. And instead, when you can start bringing them solutions that make their life easier and their life, their customer's life easier, that's going to gain you a lot of points. Mm-hmm. And on bid day, help you out a lot more going forward.
Okay.
Generally care about them as human beings, not just a workplace as I got to go meet with this guy today, right?
Yeah.
Care about what their interests are, what their kids' names are, what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah. Basic business relationship stuff, really. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like we're all busy and we're moving 1,000,000 miles an hour, and it sometimes gets forgotten about.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about how would you recommend relating to the GCs through their organizations? Like you've mentioned AGC and a couple others. So like talk about maybe some of the things they could do with that.
Yeah, I'd say that more than just NECA, and NECA's been great. It's been by far given us the best benefit, but
Sure.
going out and whether that's Associated General Contractors or ABC or we've had more luck with AGC. They're usually more union friendly.
Okay.
But I would say that those DBIA is another one that I know a lot of people have success with.
Okay.
Design Build Institute of America.
Okay. Yep.
But get involved, go to their events. A lot of them have monthly events, just like NECA does. And the nice thing about that is you can get to know people in a relaxed setting before you get the job. And sometimes you're like, oh, I know Max. I've been seeing him for over 2 years at Construction Leadership Council or Associated General Contractors, and that kind of breaks down the walls of the uncomfortability and the us versus them when you guys have shared drinks for years before you ever had a job together.
Yeah. All right. So I like to focus in the conversation by focusing on the why of what you do. And so what motivates you to do this day in and day out? What keeps you excited and passionate about what you do?
I'm extremely motivated by my family.
Okay.
I'm one of 3 owners of Max Electric, with my mother being the majority owner. Both my mother and my father, Rita and Bob Baislock, they founded the company 23 years ago, and my goal is to make it, to build off of what they created and make it stronger. And then secondly, the coolest part about what we get to do is we get to build things that a lot of times will outlast us. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That, I grew up as a kid, seeing I built that out the window, right? I built that. And I think that's really special.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. That's great. Oh, Max, I know this is a very busy show. You spoke earlier for you, and I appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to share your thoughts about contracts. We'll share links, and I know you're very involved in social, I think, right? And people can reach out to you, and I'll provide links to that. And you can have conversations with Max about how to improve that contractual relationship, which is huge. And we never had really anybody talk about it, and which is interesting, 60 episodes in, and this is the first time I've talked about it. So I appreciate you kind of broaching that subject, and maybe we'll get some people starting to talk and improve that. Thanks.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That was my conversation with Max Gallaway, VP of Max Electric, Inc. You can connect with Max and all the things that Max Electric is working on by heading to the links in the show notes. Hey, I would love to hear what you're doing to improve your general contractor relationships. If you're a GC, I'd like to hear your perspective on this topic and how you're helping improve your sub relationships. You can leave a comment in Spotify or YouTube, or more importantly this year, as I mentioned in the intro, I'm building up a newsletter community and would love to chat with you via that medium. Please click subscribe in the notes section or at graybar.com/podcast. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Keeping the Lights On. We'll see you next time.
What advice would you give to 18-year-old Max?
I would say the number one thing would be to be okay with failure. It's your first step to success many times. And also, when we learn from failure, we get better.